Start the boost. Resistance. Rogue explosive seeker mine detected. Rogue hive. Agent down. Rogue explosive seeker mine detected.
Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I'm back with another build video. Now, if you've been around here for a little while, then you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of Conflict. It frustrates me quite a bit, actually, primarily because of its various restrictions and rule sets, but I digress. It's still Division PvP at its core, and I love Division PvP. And so for the past, year or so, I've always had a Conflict loadout save that anytime I wanted to jump into the mode, I would throw on, and that was a Ridgeway's Pride setup. Well, come TU15, I scrapped it. I think it was just a combination of boredom from running the same thing, plus there is very much a new meta or contender in the build meta of pulse builds with the introduction of Heartbreaker and Flatline, so I had to rethink my approach for making a new go-to Conflict build, and I'm very happy to say that today I'm delivering that new go-to with you all. This build, as you saw in the opening clips, dominates. It utilizes some of the great new tools that TU15 brought us, combines it with some of the great items of the past, and has created a new reliable setup that I've had a ton of fun running every time I go into Conflict. Not only that, but while it's dishing out this crazy damage, it's also offering me protection from one of the most prominent build types you see in PvP right now. So all around, I'm super happy with how this has turned out. I think you're all going to like it very much, so let's get straight into it. Alright, so let's get right to it. As you can see, kind of the idea here is to use, like I said, a lot of the new stuff with TU15 that really revolves around pulses and how much insane damage that can deal, as well as building in Yall gear for some pulse resistance, meaning I can counter and be completely immune from that same type of build that so many people are running in Conflict and PvP these days. It leads to a really devastating result, so let's jump in. For my primary, I am of course using the Kingbreaker, which is the new named AR and variant of the TKB that was introduced with TU15 in Season 9, and obviously everybody has the same rolls on it, well, obviously except for the attribute, but perfect flatline. You get the extra damage to pulsed enemies. That's kind of what this all revolves around. You can use some like a regular AR with flatline if you would rather with this. Obviously, yeah, the Kingbreaker is not mandatory, but you are going to get that extra 5%, and it is a very good gun just as far as its base stats and its archetype, so you'll have a lot of success with it if you do like it and you do want to use it. I have damage to target side of cover on there, and then as for the mods, just crit chance, and then I do have the linked laser pointer for that consistent pulse functionality, especially because they nerf pulse cooldowns in Conflict, which is another dumb thing about the rule set, but we'll come back to this more later, but I just wanted to show that that's what I have on there. Moving on to your secondary, you can run whatever you want. I think I say this with most of my builds. It's not often that a secondary is required in any sort of way. So whatever you want to run here, whatever is going to complement your playstyle best, I would say do that. And then, of course, for my pistol, I just have the Orbit like a lot of my builds. Let's start with the pieces. I have one piece of Fenris on the mask. Of course, that is for the 10% AR damage. And on here, I have weapon damage, crit chance, and a crit chance mod. You will see, I should have mentioned, for the overall breakdown, 2 blues, 4 reds. For Conflict, because there's no radar, so they're not going to see you coming on that way, because I'm building, maxed out pulse immunity, means I'm not going to get pulsed, you can have really good stealth gameplay with this build. And so what that means is that I can sacrifice a little bit of armor that I would typically run because I know I'm really not going to get seen coming. And you can see in the gameplay that it leads to a lot of really good stealth moments. I can catch people by surprise, and even when they do see me, I then have that extra damage to be able to take them down. So I really like the breakdown of 4 and 2, but of course try whatever's going to fit your playstyle best there. For the chest piece, I have the new closer named chest piece, which is of course one piece of Uzina Jetica, and I'm getting 5% total armor from that, and I'm running this because it comes with perfect spotter. Again, if you want to run a normal spotter chest piece, you can do that, but in combination of using this and the Kingbreaker, I'm getting 10% extra damage that I wouldn't be getting otherwise if I were running the normal variants, so I find this to be very effective. Obviously, try it out on your own. There are different ways to set it up. On here, I have armor, crit damage, crit chance, and a pulse resist mod. Only 8.7. I know. I need to get a 10% one because even though I'm running 3 pieces of Yall and that, plus what you get from the specialization, I only have, what is down here, 98.7%, which does mean you are going to get pulls for a split second before it goes away. So the ultimate goal is to get a 10% mod, because then I will have 100%. Just know that if you are going to recreate this, if you have a 10% one, slot that in, you'll be fine. Or if you don't, that's what I'm working towards right now, to get that fully maxed out. So that is a good goal to have. Because again, what that 100% is going to allow you to do is be fully immune from this type of build that I'm running, and anybody else that is running Spotter, Flatline, and the linked laser pointer, which again is a really strong and really popular combination right now. So it ends up being really effective from what I've found so far in Conflict and other PvP scenarios. Moving on to the holster, I have the first 3 pieces of Y'all, which total you can see up there is giving me 10% hazard protection, 5% weapon damage, and 40% pulse resistance. All very useful things for PvP, especially the pulse resist. That's the main reason why I'm building it. And yes, you don't have to comment it. This holster is immensely scuffed. I do not want either explosive resist or weapon handling like I have there. What happened was that I needed one that had weapon damage, so I needed to be able to roll the core attribute, and I didn't have one of those in my stash, so I went to craft some. I crafted as many as I was able to before I ran out of Y'all materials, and I didn't get a single one that even had one roll of crit on it, which was very annoying. So, because it comes with armor base, so you have to roll that, at least the way I needed it and, had to run it. So, that is why it's messed up. Ideally, I would want to have weapon damage, crit chance, and crit damage here, and all that would do is bump up my total crit values, which I didn't show earlier, but that would go up to about 54% and 126, so pretty solid, considering I'm building some other stuff too. That is what I will ultimately want, so just know that yes, this holster is not rolled the way it should be, but eventually that is what I would want it to be. Moving on to the backpack, we have our second piece of Y'all, which of course is giving those breakdowns of brain bonuses, like I said. Weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage mod with vigilance. Vigilance is super nice in Conflict, and especially with this type of build, because you are so stealthy, because you can stay off the radar and stay off of people's, vision, it really allows you to take advantage of that extra weapon damage more often than usual. And yeah, there's not much to say. It's just going to drastically increase your DPS in some really nice ways, so I really recommend using that. But of course, try something else out if you think you have a better version to run. For the gloves, my last piece of Y'all, of course 3 pieces of a total: armor, crit chance, and crit damage. And then for the knee pads, I'm running the Fox's Prayers. Obviously, this and the Contractor gloves are best in slot for some of those extra damage bumps, and I prefer these over Contractors if I'm using just one or the other. And so I have weapon damage, damage charts out of cover, of course, and crit damage. So that's about the, necessary breakdown component of this. There's a few other things to talk about. I mean, just the skills and the spec, which aren't super important. I'm running a Stinger Hive, which is really just because it's a nice crowd control tool in Conflict. And now that shields aren't really a thing or that viable, decoys aren't that useful in Conflict because you're not on the radar anyway. So I just figured Stinger Hive is pretty useful, and so really whatever you want to use there. The one thing I do recommend, or at least I really like running, is the EMP Sticky. It's really great for those up close situations to be able to get that stagger off. So, but again, whatever you want to run for both of those skills, you can do them there. The thing that's annoying about the pulses, like I mentioned earlier, is that you can see it has a separate Conflict cooldown there. They nerf pulse cooldowns in Conflict because they don't want you to know where people are. I don't know the philosophy. I mean, it's the same reason they took away the radar. But that's why I'm not running a scanner pulse. Otherwise, I would, because it would just aid what I'm doing with this build anyway. But there you go. That's why I'm not running that. Otherwise, for the skills, run whatever you want. And then very last up, we have the spec. I'm using Technician purely to unlock the linked laser pointer, which of course is very crucial for a lot of these types of builds these days in TU15 with Flatline. If you want to run something else, you can, and then, be forced to hit headshots to get some of those stacks up. It's really up to you. There's no best way to do it, I suppose. But because of how quick the TTK is, I find the linked laser pointer to be very effective in Conflict specifically. And so that's what I recommend. So that is the build. That is the breakdown. Hope that all makes sense. Hope you enjoyed. All right, everybody, that is the build. My new go-to Conflict setup for TU15. I mean, this would probably do quite well in the DZ too. Maybe you'd shift around a few of the core attributes. But in general, being able to take advantage of the crazy pulse synergies that TU15 has introduced while also being immune to that exact same build type is just a lot of fun. It really lives up to the WRAITH name I gave it, at least I think. And so yeah, I've had a lot of fun running this, and I hope you all will as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on to be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts about my latest build. Have you tried anything similar? Do you have any changes or tweaks you would make personally? As always, I'll be very curious to hear all of your guys' thoughts and input, so keep it coming. That's going to do it for me today, though, everybody. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold. Ow.